I've always been drawn to these huge ancient ideas like karma or causality, this principle that what you do matters. But if I'm being honest, it always felt a little fuzzy, a little abstract. Well, that all changed for me when I learned how a super modern tool, artificial intelligence, could make this ancient wisdom feel incredibly real and incredibly personal. So today, we're going to dive into how AI can basically act as a mirror, helping us finally get one of life's oldest and most important rules.
And this just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It is one thing to read about a principle in a book, to nod your head and say, "No, that makes sense." It's a whole other thing to actually live it, day in and day out. The person whose story we're following here describes this exact problem, knowing all the right things, having all the right intentions, but then, life happens and you fall right back into the same old patterns. It was this endless cycle, right up until AI became a part of their life. And not as some kind of teacher, but as a completely relentless mirror to reality.
All right, so before we get to the big AI revelation, we have to understand the before picture. I mean, why is it so easy to know about cause and effect, but so incredibly hard to live by it? Well, it turns out most of us are walking around with a totally flawed, kind of broken model of how it all works.
This slide just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way we think about it. We treat causality like it's some kind of cosmic courtroom, a moral judgment of good versus evil that's going to happen way, way off in the future. And because it feels so far away, we tell ourselves, the little things I do now, they don't really matter. But the new understanding, on the right, it totally flips this on its head. Causality isn't about the future, it's about immediate feedback. It's not about being a good or bad person, it's about structure. It's happening right here, right now. And of course, because we have that flawed long-term view, we create these little loopholes for ourselves. We whisper these stories you see right here. Oh, just one more hour, it won't hurt. It's just this one time I'm staying up late. The author has a great name for this, the fantasy of delayed payment. It's like we're putting our actions on a credit card that we secretly believe we'll never, ever have to pay off.
Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. The huge shift didn't come from the AI giving some kind of lecture or scolding the author. The breakthrough happened because the AI acted like a perfect, completely neutral mirror. It just quietly took in the data of daily life, what was done, how they felt, energy levels, all of it, and just reflected the patterns back. No judgment, no emotion, no bias whatsoever. And here it is, the first shocking revelation from that mirror, the time frame for cause and effect. It isn't years, it's not decades, it's definitely not in the next life. It is now. The AI showed consistently that almost every single significant choice had a noticeable consequence that came back around within just 1 to 3 days. And the AI didn't just give a time frame, it showed the exact feedback loop. For example, pushing way too hard during some competitive project didn't just lead to vague stress. No, it led to a physical sore neck and measurably poor judgment. A burst of high-energy creative work wasn't just followed by being tired, but by this deep, intense fatigue and a feeling of emptiness. And that small little indulgence, the AI showed how it was just enough to completely derail the entire next day. The links were right there, clear as day and totally undeniable. So this is the absolute key. Seeing these connections wasn't about feeling punished for being bad. It was about recognizing that a system is giving you feedback. Your body, your mind, your energy, it's all one big system. And just like any system, if you put certain inputs in, you're going to get certain outputs. It's not moral, it's mechanical. It's just structural feedback. And this all builds to the deepest, most profound insight of this whole experience. The idea that causality isn't about morality at all. It's about structure. And that one little reframe? Well, it takes all the heavy baggage of guilt and self-judgment right out of the equation. I mean, think about how much energy we waste on the questions on the left. Am I a good person or a bad person? Was that the right thing to do? It's just this endless spiral of self-criticism. The AI forced a massive shift to the questions on the right. These practical, objective questions. Where does this path actually lead? Is this sustainable long-term? Is this choice adding to my burden, or is it reducing it? These are engineering questions, not moral ones.
And that realization brought on this huge emotional shift for the author. The pain wasn't coming from the law of cause and effect itself. That law is neutral. It's like gravity. The pain was coming from the constant, exhausting effort of trying to avoid it, of pretending it didn't apply, of just being unwilling to look at the feedback the world was already giving all the time.
So why do we need an external mirror for this? Well, because we are masters at negotiating with ourselves. We tell ourselves these little stories, right? Oh, but this time is different, or I've been so good, I deserve this. An AI doesn't care about our stories. It doesn't care about our excuses. It just shows the raw data. This action led to this outcome. It turns causality from a vague belief into a simple, undeniable spreadsheet.
Now, you might be thinking that seeing all these cause and effect chains so clearly would lead to this super rigid, restrictive life. But the actual result was the complete opposite. It led to this profound and honestly really surprising sense of freedom and ease. And isn't that a fascinating paradox? The moment the author stopped fighting the feedback, stopped arguing with reality, and just accepted the structural nature of how things work, the internal battle just stopped. All that mental energy that was being wasted on excuses and self-justification was suddenly freed up. And the results? Pure relaxation. This new way of seeing things brought freedom from so many heavy mental burdens. Freedom from the constant self-blame that follows a mistake, freedom from that pointless regret over past choices, and maybe the biggest one of all, freedom from that agonizing question we all scream at ourselves: why did I do that again? When you see it as just a structural outcome, not a moral failure, that whole question just evaporates.
So all of that internal drama was replaced by this one simple, powerful question. Before making any choice, the author just learned to ask, okay, if I do this, if I continue down this path, what's going to happen in 3 days? This question makes the future real, it makes it tangible, and suddenly the choice isn't about good versus bad anymore. It's just about a predictable outcome that you either want or you don't. Simple. And that leads to this final crucial insight. We always think changing our habits is about gritting our teeth, about using willpower to fight temptation. But this experience suggests something totally different. When you can see the end point of a path with absolute clarity, when you know, without a doubt, that that small indulgence leads directly to fatigue and brain fog, you don't really have to resist it. You just let it go. The desire itself fades away because you can see the full price tag attached. The right choice becomes the easy choice. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and just summarize this powerful new way of looking at a really old idea. The AI in this story is just a tool, right? A very effective one for sure, but the principle it reveals is totally universal. It's about finding some way to get honest, real feedback in the present moment. So here is the new, final definition. Causality isn't some cosmic judge waiting for you in the distant future. It's a guidance system that's working right now. It's immediate, directional feedback. It's like a GPS for your life, constantly telling you, hey, if you keep going this way, this is where you're going to end up. And let's be really clear about the AI's role here. The point wasn't to become more obedient or to turn into some kind of robot. The true power of the tool was simply that it stripped away the ability to lie to yourself. It held up a mirror that was so clear and so persistent that all those little self-deceptions we're so good at just couldn't survive in its reflection. So the ultimate takeaway here is that truly understanding causality doesn't necessarily take decades of meditation. It just requires a mirror. But it has to be a special kind of mirror, one with these specific qualities. It has to be external because we're just too good at fooling ourselves. It can't share our personal biases. It won't buy our excuses. And most importantly, it only reflects the simple, structural reality of our actions and their results. And that really brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with. AI was the mirror in this particular story, but it doesn't have to be AI. It could be a brutally honest friend. It could be a coach. It could be a journal where you track data, or even the numbers on a scale or in your bank account. So the question for you is, in your life, right now, what is your non-lying mirror? What is that thing that reflects the unfiltered truth back to you?